Hello and welcome to Man's Model Moments. I don't know what went on there. StreamYard just decided to do its own thing. It's just the cursed episode. I think we'll just leave it at that, right? Oh dear God. It's yeah, interesting. But anyway, welcome everybody. Hopefully you can all hear and see me. Please, somebody let me know, because I don't want to be talking to myself and nobody be able to hear me. It's given everything that's happened with this one so far. It's I'm not 100% convinced. Just move that out of the way. I've got this annoying little thing at the side, which is the corner of that chair. There we go. Excellent. You can hear me. Good. Right. Let's see. Who do we have? We have Adrian Hook. Good to see you. Vicky Wheeler. First one. Then they picked on you. Fame at last. Seriously, hope all goes well tonight. Thank you. Adrian. Sorry, I've just mentioned that. Graham Ball. We've got David Markey. We have Idwell Williams. We've got Craig Dukes. We've got that's everybody I see in chat. So we may have reduced numbers tonight. I appreciate that. It's a retake. It's not normal night. There are other things going on a Thursday, so I appreciate all of those things. So it is what it is. As I mentioned in the private Discord, YouTube has really throttled back on my channel and other channels that are associated not just with modeling, but DCS, for instance. I know the Grim Reapers channel, which I've talked about in the past. It's a DCS Digital Combat Simulator, a DCS channel, really enjoyable channel. That's been throttled back as well. What do I mean by throttled back? So the revenue that creators like myself earn is in part from subscribers, through advertising revenue. No, sorry, not really through subscribers, through members, through your donations, which are massively appreciated. And essentially, when I say that I wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for you guys, it is absolutely 100% true, because the other part is advertising revenue. And the advertising revenue portion comes from YouTube, obviously selling advertising space on its platform. And then the number of views dictates what percentage of that you get. And obviously it's like 0.00 whatever of a cent per view, and that is very much dictated not by the number of subscribers, though that helps obviously, but number of what they call impressions. So YouTube suggesting videos. So whenever you see on the side of your screen like suggested videos for you, it'll be taken from your history and the kind of things that you like. And what YouTube does is it preferences some channels over others, some trends and all the rest of it. And it's throttled back on military stuff, basically. So what it does is it means that even if you're interested in military stuff, you will not get shown my streams, my videos as much as previously. And the reason that's important is because if you're not shown it or suggested it, if you're not a subscriber and you don't have that like set to all, then you don't know about it. And basically the amount of time that a video is up and the number of views it gets, the YouTube algorithm also looks at that. And if you don't get very many views over a certain period of time, it doesn't suggest it even more. So it's a negative feedback spiral. And myself and other creators can tell that it's YouTube that is doing this, and it's not like I'm making crap videos. Because what you have is, say you show it to 100 people. So suggest in the thumbnails, 100 people, there's my thing. Number of people that click on that is fairly constant, right? If you've got a bad video, it will drop. So say it's 10%, which is high. So 10 out of every 100 people click that. So if you show it to 100 people, you get 10. If you show it to 1,000 people, you get 100, 100, and so on. Yeah, because the percentage is about the same. if you make a bad video, maybe that's only 5%. So obviously you get less views, and so then YouTube doesn't suggest it to as many people. But if you don't suggest it to as many people in the first place, if you only show it to 10 people, you get 1 click, then it doesn't mean that the quality of the video is worse. In fact, if you get 3 clicks, that means it's much better than a normal video, but it's only 3 clicks. So it's a bit like, if you hold an event, if you hold a concert, yeah, and do a massive publicity thing for it for 3 months beforehand, it's going to be an in excess tribute band, yeah, 3 months across, loads of different countries. You advertise it, you'll get a packed stadium, yeah. You get all these 80s throwbacks people who like, yeah, I want to see like an in excess tribute band. If you don't do any publicity, your stadium will probably be half empty at best. If any, it might not pay for itself. And that's what YouTube are doing, which is, well, it kills small channels, right? Now, they don't seem to be doing it to bigger channels because, of course, bigger channels, they already get high views. So they're already making YouTube a lot of money for advertising. So it's pretty nefarious. But this is a very long, boring explanation, apologies, about why I'm streaming tonight and not just cancelled it and doing it next week, because I really can't afford to. I have to keep doing stuff to keep my to keep the algorithm at least aware that my channel isn't dead. So it's unfortunate. That's the way it goes. So the long and the short of it is, if you are watching this and you've never seen this video stream before, you've never seen my channel before, and you're interested in models, please do subscribe and click the notification bell, set it to all, so you get notified of these streams and videos, because that's the only way channels like mine and Moss and Nigel and Mac Models and all the other small channels out there. I'm talking about small channel is like less than 100,000 subscribers, because even channels like Grim Reapers, which has hundreds of thousands of subscribers, are feeling it. So unless you want YouTube to become a monoculture of whatever YouTube wants to promote, then please do keep showing interest in not just my stream, but others like it, military history, DCS, Flames of War, World of Warships, whatever it is, so that YouTube actually learns that, we're not all right-wing fascists. We just have an interest in history and, enjoy making models. And, these are hobbies and pastimes. They're educational and historical. They're good for mental health. There's so many reasons, that you should be a modeler or should be interested in, military history, for instance, technology of all of those things. It doesn't mean you're a militaristic psychopath. So that little mini rant over. Apologies. But that's kind of why I continued on and decided to do the stream tonight rather than just postponing it. So anyway, we have a few more people in. So let me just say hello. And hello, of course, if you're watching this after the live stream on the recording. We've got Dave Fairclough and Hans Morbus. Dave, yes. So just for those of you who haven't seen it, there we go. It is, of course, the Liberator, the greatest starship ever designed. I will not hear any other proposals. Well, I'll hear them, but you're just wrong. We've got Jono Swift. Oh, Jono, good to see you. Your package went off today, first class. It will be with you tomorrow. We have the Little Things Junkie. Late to the party, don't worry. There's I'm a day late to the party, so I can't really blame anybody. We've got Jonex, we've got Keith. Welcome to you all. Let's have a look. I would disagree, Little Things Junkie. Click-through rate is important. View duration is also important. So my YouTube, my video like duration, like people watching, is pretty consistent, and it has been for the majority of the life of the channel. That hasn't changed at all. My click-through rate hasn't really changed at all. It's pretty high actually by YouTube standards. But my recent videos have not been doing well because they're not being shown. So YouTube isn't suggesting them. So if you've got the same retention rate, the same click-through rate, same sort of positive and negative applications, Pablo has even don't succumb to his attempts to get you to feed him again. Sorry, Maria's just arrived home. She was a little bit late because we still can't use the shower. Tomorrow morning we can. Oh yes. So, oh my God, I'm holding out for that. Too many, you know, having to shower at the swimming pool and, you know, do flannel washes, washing hair in the sink. It's not great. So yeah, all of my metrics on my channel are good for YouTube standard. They are, you know, the upper end. A click-through rate of, you know, 7 to 10% is good. My click-through rate is consistently that kind of level. My duration statistics are pretty good. You know, you get the usual. You get a very short-term drop-off in the first usually 30 seconds, where people realize, oh no, this, you know, I've clicked on this kind of accidentally. This isn't really what I want. And then it's pretty much plateaus until right at the end when my credits run, which is a pretty good curve. So yeah, it isn't those statistics. It is the fact that YouTube just isn't promoting both mine and other military subject. It does the same with gun tubers as well. A lot of, you know, in America you have gun tubers, people who do stuff on guns. They've actually created their own platform called Pepperbox TV because YouTube's throttled them back so much, and they have millions of subscribers, literally millions. Anyway, that was just a little aside. We've got Graham Schofield in. We have I will murder your name, how. We have you're in. Thank you. I won't do you the dishonor of trying to pronounce your name. We've got Howard Kendrick. Oh, Howard, yes, your parcel is also packed up. It missed the deadline for. Basically, in the shop, what happens is if you place an order now, I can go to click and drop, and I often do it in the evening. And because I already have a collection book for tomorrow, or in fact, all the way up to midnight, I can do a label, get them to bring that label with them, and it'll be picked up in the collection tomorrow. Otherwise, say if I didn't have anything this week, it was a Monday, yeah, nobody's ordered over the weekend, I could basically go in, do my click and drop.
Can't they use the loop?
You can, but you have to be careful because they grouted the floor. That's what that tape is for.
No, I get that, but
sorry, the guys have actually put tape across our door like it's a crime scene, so you can't go in. Basically, just to stop you kind of accidentally going in while the grout dries. It's pretty much dry now, so yeah. You can use the toilet. Sorry, I completely lost my thread with that. Yeah, click and drop. So I can do all of that. So if you place the order at 9 o'clock in the morning or at 10 o'clock at night, it doesn't make any difference because they will not come and collect until the next day. So if I do 24-hour delivery, it's 2 days because I'll create the label. The thing is, I can't even take that to the local delivery office because they close at 10 o'clock in the morning. So there isn't a window for me to take a package to get it posted like the same day, effectively. That's a Royal Mail thing. I use Royal Mail because I found it most consistent I've had a few ups and downs, but I don't have packages just disappear. So and I've had a few issues, and they've always, because they provide photographic evidence and things, it's just a good safeguard for people. I would prefer it to be a little bit longer before you get something, but you get it, than have any issues that way. What else do we have here? David Barber, Lox9, you're both in. Welcome. Graham Schofield. That is a good. It's a good point, but unfortunately, Vicky, YouTube and common sense and a mindfulness of the past is not particularly something that kind of works. So yeah, that's kind of preamble. Apologies, it was a bit of a rambling, slightly interrupted thing, but unboxings part 2. So I posted a list up both on the members Discord, so you guys have had a couple of days to look at it, and also today on a community post for which kits I should prioritize in that. I do have a couple of wild cards that I didn't mention there as well. So if you haven't already voted, you can carry on and put in your number. So there's a community post. There's also the description of this video has all the numbers. So if you particularly want to see something and you've not already voted, get your numbers in. Now, the first one I'm going to be looking at is the JU88 in captured colors from ICM. So don't worry about number 3, because number 3 is going to be first. And then second, unless something drastic happens in the next, well, it depends how long it's going to take me to do this unboxing. But that amount of time, it's going to be the Type 45 destroyer from Airfix, which I'm quite looking forward to, because I've not actually even opened the box yet. So these ones I got from the US, courtesy of John Alec, Scale Modeling, who very kindly arranged to send me the kits, because obviously they still have them in the US. It's a bizarre situation. So obviously Airfix released the kit. I believe they've only ever released it once. Sold out in the country, you can't get it. But Hornby USA still have them, and they had them on sale in their shop. So I ordered a bunch. John Alec had them delivered to him, free delivery there, and then he posted them over to me. I paid for the kits and the postage and offered them up in the shop. So because I think it's a kit that I think quite a lot of people still have an interest in. John, no problems. It is my intent, and especially now that it was difficult before Christmas, well, before and after Christmas, with the move, with not being in the shop all the time, with all the improvements and stuff that I was doing at the shop, as well as living out of boxes, to give that kind of service before. But now the intent is that if you've got an order, comes in, it should be a couple of days, and it's in your hands. There are always obvious exceptions. I do have an order that I am waiting. I placed an order for more ICM paints almost a month ago, and I haven't received them. That's not ICM's fault. It is the UK importer. So yeah, they keep chasing them, and eventually I had to get in touch with ICM saying, look, I'm just not getting this. It's affecting my business now, because the paints have sold really well. I'm now out of I'm out of 3 colors: white, 1057 ochre, and 1036 neutral gray, which are really important colors. And I actually had to raid some of the. I actually ordered some of the paint sets, just purely to open them to use as single paints to be able to supply people. Unfortunately, 1057 ochre is only used in one of their paint sets. So I actually had to go and look at all of their paint sets and see what was in each one. And I've got an Excel sheet now of all of the different colors with all different sets. Of course I have. And yeah, there's only one that has 1057 in it. And it's not in stock anywhere. So I can't get it. So until that comes in, I can't send out this order. And I do need to send an email on that one. So let me just 6 and 11. You see, I don't know what these are now. Let me actually just quickly have a look at my own post just to see where that is. Also, I do kind of need to look at any comments, because I did look earlier, but I've got another 45, the JU88, which is going to be, and then the 251. Okie dokie. Now, I think I need to put the light on to get some decent light here, so you'll have to excuse me for a minute, and I also need to grab the kits. So bear with me. Oh, we've got a 6 and 8. Okay, right. And I should also get rid of the little trembling, murmuring, visual discrepancy. So bear with. Okay, thank you. I was just looking for the wild card kits there, and I couldn't see them, but put them in a safe place, which of course is always a disaster for me because I can never remember where the safe place was. So this is the most recent release, and the other thing I need to do to stop stupid effect happening is put some backlight on. That's one. Oh dear, I thought I'd been more organised, but you can't get the stuff, you know. There we go. Okay, that should stop any stupid stuff, apart from when I do this, and this is obviously the spot where the green is on the box. So if I put that over there, then the little banner covers it. So this is the JU88, obviously in US Army Air Force or RAF colours. And it's pretty attractive scheme, that, because you have the original German camo with the kind of maritime disruptive overspray, and then you have the big yellow patches with the US symbols and the red cowlings on there. Plus nose art as well. So there's a lot going on in that particular one, which I think is pretty good. So we just open it up. So the decals, I'll switch camera in a second. The decal sheet actually doesn't have a huge amount. Why is that going like that? It doesn't have a huge amount. It's basically just you've got the nose art and you've got the various symbols. Also decal for the sheet. You have the typical ICM. What is it doing there? Let's get the backlight a bit better. Yeah, it's a little bit better. So typical ICM instruction booklet, as we've seen many times before. And then right at the back, obviously, you have the two schemes, the British and the American, which we'll get a proper look at in a second. And as usual, very full box. So ICM are pretty good, as Airfix are these days, about filling their boxes with this kit. Well, this is not a new kit, but it is one of their newer toolings. I have built it, and it is a really nice kit. I say I've built it. I started building it, and then we got to moving, of course. So let's get rid of the bag, and I'll switch cameras so that you guys can see exactly what I'm looking at. Meanwhile, I'll just say hello to Danny Gable, Sprue and Glue. Good to see you. And Andy Bowden. Welcome all. Okay, so the settings, put on my other camera with no virtual background. So we have the clear parts, which I'll come back to. As I say, you've got a lot of plastic here. I'll take these one by one, obviously, if I can find somewhere to put them. So we start off with the sort of main sprue here with the fuselage. And the fuselage is split into like the halves, as you might expect. And then there's a central piece here, which then gives you the right chord for the wings, which I think is quite a nice idea. You have elements here of the cockpit. So this is the bank of radios for the radio operator, the cupola. These are parts of the seat, instrument panel, the armored seat for the pilot. The guy doesn't get any armor. Obviously, the horizontal stabilizers and their control surfaces. These are the main landing gear attachment parts, which actually locate into the wings. So have a look at the detail on these. If my camera wants to focus, are you going to focus? Come on, there we go. You see, you've got really nice. You can think of the width of my scalpel here. Really nice, thin panel lines across the surface of the kit here. Some nice little surface details, and that little blister. You can see similarly. Again, you're going to focus. There we go. Apologies for the nails. Again, nicely engraved detail, as you would expect. Just hide that. As you would expect for ICM. So same with these radios, so you can see. So if you want to go to town painting on these, you have all the radio equipment there. Let's go to the wings next. The next big sprue, as it were. I can actually get it out here. So very simple frame. You've just got the upper and lower wing surfaces. So you can see this is where the nacelles go. So you've got one side of it. So you see the attachment points there. We go back to that central section. You've got the other side on here. So that kind of, the nacelles kind of lock the two pieces together, which again, structurally is quite a nice feature. And then of course this piece goes on top. So the whole structure, when it's all together, kind of locks in, which makes it nice and solid. So I see them pretty good about that. You know, we've got the spars in the Beaufort I showed you. They do the same thing with the Marauder. And again, you've got nice detail here for like the refueling caps on the fuel tanks. The undersides of the wings as well. So all good stuff. As for the engine nacelles themselves, you've got the two halves with piece here which you can leave open, and I'll show you why in a second. The rudder, well, the vertical stabilizer where the rudder goes on. The rudder is actually here, obviously, and then these big paddle bladed kind of props. The spinners, obviously this is a later model. Not quite sure exactly what it is. Got the annular radiators. Similar sort of engraved detail on here. You have another one of these. So obviously they can depict different versions, and if I show you here, the shape of this is different from these because it's depicting a different model with different, because obviously the JU88 was different engines in different versions, and obviously these later very broad props compared to the little skinny, by comparison, early ones. So I think this is the original frame for the A version that they did, complete with the dive brakes, of course, which, as you can see, are quite nicely slatted. You can see my fingers through the slats in those. Quite nicely depicted those. So I believe this is the original. You still use elements of these. These are the backs of those pieces in the nacelles. And then for later versions, different versions, they obviously give you this. So, and again, you've got various different pieces, including the different shape of the horizontal stabilizer and the rudder. So it's a nice way to do it. And ICM are quite generous about the way they do it, because obviously you've got all the parts there for the early version as well as for the later. Let's get on to some of the fiddly bits, Bruce. Which ones are we going to do first? Okay, so you get two of these. And this is why they give you the option to have that kind of still open. Come on, going to. Thank you. Because you get full engines in them. Now, obviously, these are very nice engines, but you can obviously super detail these. You can put all the injection leads on just using wire and stuff. So you have the engine mounts here, which, you know, are all nicely hollowed out. It's not like these are just sort of the old Airfix or Matchbox mounts that, if you remember, from the 70s. So you have the option to have those, and then obviously you've got different types of bomb fairings. You have different Sd.Kfz and Sd.Kfz kilo bombs, different machine guns. I think those are MG81s. Is it 81? I can't remember anyway. You have those, and you've got all of the ammo canisters. So you've got a nice level of basic detail here. Again, this is part of the engine framing and various pieces. I think, is that part of the supercharger or turbocharger? Yeah, possibly. So this is kind of where I got up to. I built the whole thing and the engines, and then just got to that point of just like, okay, I need to spend a bit more time doing the detail and stuff on that. And then, of course, we had to pack everything up and move. So I should really get back to it. Now we have a little bit more time. And then you have this as the flight control surfaces, the flaps and the ailerons. These parts here are, this is one of the side panels on the cockpit. This, I believe, is the other. Oh, no, sorry, that's part of the flooring. Apologies. And then you have the very sturdy undercarriage of the Ju-88. You know, it's got quite distinctive, I would say, undercarriage with the, you know, the rubber fairings covering the hydraulic parts, etc. And then you've got a whole host of little gribbly bits for you to lose in the carpet. Again, you've got, I think that's a cannon. You know, all kinds of little bits. I'm not quite sure what half of these are, but plenty of stuff to play with. And then last but not least, you have this, which has some more options. So basically different machine guns. You've got some flame dampers for the exhausts, which I think are mainly used for the night fighter versions. Maybe there's it on this one. We'll have a look when we take a look at the instructions now. So obviously instructions, typical ICM format, nice color artwork. ICM's artwork of late, I think, is pretty impressive. It's, I think, Airfix, ICM, I think some of the mini art stuff, all really impressive. You know, I mean, obviously there are other manufacturers that do it, but consistently, you know, those three, I think, are putting out quite a lot of kits, and for the most part, I think they all have pretty good artwork. You then have the little obligatory description in Ukrainian and English. The color guide, which I would essentially ignore. I think this is the weakest part of any ICM kit, is the recommendation on which colors to use. ICM paints are excellent, but the colors that they give you to, you know, say, oh, this is the color to use for this, it's like, I would do your own research. Or even better, check out one of my mixing videos and, you know, use an appropriate color from one of those for this. You don't have the very useful, I wish Airfix would do this, because Airfix don't tend to give you frame maps. And I think out of all the manufacturers, the one with, you know, the most QC issues should probably get into the habit of doing this. But this obviously shows you all of the parts on the different frames. And okay, apparently only one part isn't being used. Oh, and on this one here, just adjust that little. These little parts here aren't used either. So obviously you're not going to use all of the parts on one model, because you do have alternates here for things like the vertical stabilizer and rudder. So, and then we get, okay, so Ju-88 A5 RF. I thought these felt quite chunky as instructions, so I'm presuming then they're going to give you different instructions for the... Yes, they are. Look, there we go. Essentially, you have two instruction booklets here. That's pretty good. So they give you one set of instructions, which is if you wanted to... Sorry, I've got overspray from... I've been priming models with rattle cans, so that's what that is. Apologies. Because we don't have a shower. I couldn't have a shower when I came home. Well, we got a shower, but it's all been sealed today, so we can't put water on it till tomorrow morning when it's cured. So you've got the RAF captured Ju-85 A5, and then the Ju-88 A4 for the USAF. So that's pretty nice, actually, that they give you complete instructions for doing that. That's pretty good. Pretty good. This is all, having built this is all pretty straightforward. There are some fiddly bits. So, for instance, these are all of the ammo cartridges for the observer, navigator, radio operator, which are obviously small, but there's nothing untoward here. There's no sort of oddness. The only thing that I found I needed to really watch myself with was getting to the undercarriage, making sure that you, because they are handed, that you've got the right side. But that's, you know, just standard modeling stuff. So yeah, you can just go through here. See, you've got the sidewall built up, the armored seat. Sorry, that's the navigator's seat. The armored seat for the pilot is down here. How those go in. Wow, they had a lot of ammo for the. It's all clipped onto the back of the pilot's seat. I didn't realize that. And then that all goes through exactly how you build up the A4 version, including all of the engine parts. Now, of course, if you're not building the engine, you wouldn't actually have to put that in, because once you close this, you can't see any of that. But you have two engines in this thing, two complete engines in the model, rather than, obviously, it does have a the actual aircraft had two engines, obviously, but the fact they give you two engines in this, I think, is pretty nice. You also have an option here with the front transparency, whether you want to put the forward machine gun in it or not, and different options. So there's plenty of stuff to go at here. And obviously choice of options. I don't think the RAF would have probably operated it with bombs, but you never know. If they did, I don't think they would be captured German bombs, but hey, they give you the choice if you wish. And then, of course, you can choose which format of rear. And then they go to the A4. Sorry, was it the A5 or the I think it was the A5 for the RAF, right? Or was it the A3? I think I said A5. A5, yeah. And then the A4 in USAF service, which I think, I mean, it's the one that appeals to me most, purely because it's such an unusual scheme. I mean, they really didn't want it to be confused, did they? It's just like, oh, don't shoot me down. I'm definitely on your side. I mean, it follows broadly, obviously, the same, but obviously you're going to have some small differences in what parts you use. This is what I meant by the undercarriage. So you have these handed parts. But these are pretty sturdy. So I won't go through all of that again. And then you have the very nice full color camouflage renditions here. I mean, this is a pretty standard RAF captured scheme, right? Now, what that is, whether that would be slate grey and dark sea grey, or oh, yeah, it would be dark sea grey. I'm guessing that's the scheme. Then with obviously yellow, sometimes called trainer yellow. It wasn't actually called trainer yellow by the RAF, but it's kind of a nickname that's been given for the undersides. So pretty standard captured aircraft at the end of World War II for the British. So it's interesting, but I think the main draw is this, surely. I mean, look at that. That is an astonishing scheme. So you get to do the German camouflage first, and you know, show off your airbrushing skills. I did this scribble camo on a 1/72 JU88 with an airbrush freehand. It took a while. It took a while. It looked good, but by God, it took a long time. It also gives you an option. If you don't, oh no, that's showing. Okay, so you got that's the original splinter, how it would have been, and then obviously the Germans oversprayed on that, the scribble pattern, usually for maritime or aircraft operating over over water. And then you have these big yellow identification panels with these huge insignia that we saw there, and you've got nose art for that as well. So 2 different versions by the looks of it. So I think you could do it without the overspray. I think they're saying basically it's a couple of different versions, which is nice actually. So if you're scared of this, or you don't fancy taxing yourself, you can just do it in the main splinter camo and use the nose art there. So that, for me, I mean, it's a lovely scheme. I think that is, it's going to be something, well, it's going to be something unusual apart from all the other people that do exactly this scheme. Right? But that, to me, is a great scheme. And the box art really sells it to me. I think that's that looks really good. So, nice kit. JU8 was obviously, I think it was one of the most produced. I think it was the most produced bomber in World War II, certainly by the Germans. It was kind of more than being a bomber. It was really a multi-purpose aircraft, wasn't it? It was pressed into all sorts of uses, and it was pretty good at most of them. Just to give you a quick view on the transparencies, these are ICM's normal kind of quality. So I can find where this bag opens. So always nice to see separately bagged transparencies as well. As you can see, we'll get the old Swan Morton test. Oh, this is my one with the little Swan Morton as well. Let's get you a bit closer. So you can see. So obviously it's faceted, so it's going to be difficult to see. But you can see like one individual paint, like going over that, you can read it pretty well. So the optical clarity of ICM transparencies is always great. And it looks like you've got 3 different types here. You've got the one without any. Move that now. You've got the one without any MG placements, and then you've got 2 different styles with a gun mount. And then you have different. You've got an insert there for the main transparency here with the 2 mounts, and then you've got, if you don't want this style, you've got the blown rear with these round movable mounts. So, but in 2 pieces, obviously, because molding this in one would be very difficult. So they split it along the framing. It's pretty easy with a German aircraft in this way. And then various different pieces for the lower cupola. Come on, focus again. Thank you. So, very nice kit, very nice schemes. And looking forward to putting that on the bench at some point. Right, let's quickly go back to me. Camera, me. No, there we go. So yeah, JU88, nice subject, great box art. I've said to Valeria, I think it would be great to be able to have some of their box art as posters. You know, obviously they did the calendar with the Marauder, but I think these are good enough quality to that people would buy this. I said that on the what was it, the Beaufort one? It's under a whole bunch of stuff here, so I can't pull it out. But that Beaufort box art with the coastal torpedo training school art is just fabulous. It's great. John Alec is in. Good evening, John. Good to see you. Very timely, actually, as the next kit we're going to be looking at is the Type 45 destroyer from Airfix. We've got Ian Ellison in as well. Graham Schofield. I don't know whether I saw you before, whether I mentioned you, but if not, welcome. I don't think I've missed anybody else. So yeah, next kit is the Airfix Type 45 destroyer, 1/350th scale. I've got it over here because it is quite large. In fact, a lot of these kits are quite large. I mean, this is not a small box. JU8 is a fairly substantial aircraft. This is a bit bigger, but not by a huge amount. So, yeah, substantial kit. So this, of course, is the Type 45 destroyer. Let's try and do it without lots of reflection. So this is unopened. Let me get my scalpel and remove the seal. So thank you, John Alec, for organising me getting these kits. And there are only 2 left. They've been very popular, as I expected them to be, because, as I say, this hasn't been released or available other than, you know, the old eBay tax ones. And then having to deal with the vagaries of eBay. It's a very sturdy Airfix box as well, which is nice. The top and the bottom are both corrugated. That is there isn't much flex or movement in that. So kudos for Airfix of the past for doing that. Single bag with everything in, quite large. And then typical Airfix instructions. And I think it's because this is slightly greenish blue. We'll see that when we come to the BenQ camera, the desk camera. So definitely not as substantial as the ICM booklet, but does that matter? Not too sure. Ooh, I can smell pizza. I mustn't be distracted. So, single bag, a little bit more room in the box for it to move around than is ideal. It's quite narrow, and the box is actually quite wide. So just to give you an idea, that's the difference. So you've got a good 10 centimeters or so. Of course, it's a standard size box, so that's why that is, but it's a little unfortunate. Because you do have some very large frames with large components on them, and then you have frames like this one, which have an awful lot of small bits on. But ooh, you've got little links in there. Oh, and a Merlin. We'll come to those. I'm getting a sneak peek before you can see. Okay. Well, this doesn't look too bad at all, actually, in terms of buildability. So I've always shied away from naval subjects, as I've mentioned many times on the channel. I'm not a naval modeler, by choice. So it's nice to have a subject which is, relatively simple for a naval one. So let me swap over once again. In fact, let me pull the camera up first because I'm going to need the distance before doing that. Make sure I don't have the virtual background here so it doesn't do weird things. So this is the main, I'll call it the main frame because it's got the two largest pieces on. So you have the lower hull. It's a very shallow keel, actually. Look at that. That is very shallow. It's surprising, although I don't really know anything about modern naval vessels, so I would just have expected a bit deeper in there, but hey. And then you have the main deck, which also has a lot of the superstructure on, which, I don't know, feels a little bit like cheating. I would have expected this to have been a separate piece. Maybe like this section to have been one piece. Maybe, deck that's one or two pieces for the entirety, and then this superstructure to have been built up. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it makes much difference in terms of the end result, but it's at what point does a kit stop being a kit, and when does it just become like a model, a fully presented, like a corgi toy kind of thing. So if I just look at type 45 on ScaleMates, should easily be able to find it by getting this down to ships on 350th, Airfix, bang, straight away. Okay. So this is a 2012 tool. So this predates Ausf B. Well, no, it predates Phoenix, I should say. In fact, let me actually move that across and give you present, share my screen, type 45 destroyer. There we go. So this is the ScaleMates entry for this kit. So you can see full kit in 2012. It was a new tool. It has been released a couple of times since. I didn't realize that. It was released as a gift set also in 2012, which I guess doesn't really count. And then it was released 5 years ago, which I guess is where this tooling or impression comes from, in terms of it still being in the Ausf B store in the US. But it's just those, that's the only times it's been released. So, it's, there aren't that many of them out there, I guess is what I'm saying. So you do have, so 2012, there are still some good kits that Airfix made around this time. Some of the pre-existing starter kits, for instance, the P51, the BF109E, the Spitfire, I think, were all tooled around that time. But of course, that is 13 years ago now. So the improvements that they've gone through in that time are quite a lot. This is in that bluish grey plastic. It does actually look slightly bluer in reality than it's showing on the camera here. But I'm sure you all remember sort of blue-grey plastic. Let me just get the ICM, which is true kind of neutral grey. There we go. That gives you an impression of how blue it is compared to, ICM's very, neutral grey. So yeah, I think that is a good. I think that's a good point, David Markey. The wheel ships are seamless, pretty much, and if I guess you had the different pieces, it would introduce the possibility of having unrealistic gaps and stuff. But there's some quite nice detail here. I don't know whether you'll be able to see this very well. If I use the light a little bit here, you can see there is some little dimpling on the deck. Obviously, this is 1/350th scale, so anything is going to be massively exaggerated. They don't really, if you magnified, something like this, which is what I'm guessing, maybe 1/4 of a millimeter, 1/2 a millimeter. 1/2 a millimeter times by 350 is 175 millimeters. So it's like like this kind of size. I doubt they got holes in the deck like that for you to put your foot through. But obviously, our hobby is about creating the illusion of what you see. You do have some nice detail here, like a grill sort of thing. So this is quite a complex part and a large part. I can't imagine that is that easy to inject. Now that also makes me wonder. I don't know when the injection molding went to India, but could Airfix, with its present Indian sub-manufacturer, would they be able to injection mold this with sufficient quality to have this released again today? Because that is a hell of a frame. So I think that's a valid consideration, right? For people who often said, why don't they release this again? I wonder if that is, if they released this and they ordered, say, 1,000 and half of them were miscast, they're going to end up losing money. Yeah. So if I was Dale, I would be reticent, I think is the word, to do that. But I don't see any obvious defects there. I mean, it's difficult to tell really because it's such a massive frame and there aren't that many attachment points on this. I don't think it's warped. It doesn't seem to be. Again, could they achieve that today consistently? I don't know is the simple answer to that. We've then got this frame, which is one of the sides. I must say, it's a pretty ugly frame. Because let me just turn it around and show you what I mean. Look at that. That is damn ugly. Look at this. Show you in close up. Come on, focus. Come on, there we go. Look at that. That is a hideous blob. And these are warped as hell. Look at that. that is kind of bent, and you've got a massive sink mark here, just because that's huge. I mean, this doesn't matter, right? But it does show that this plastic was still hot when it came out the frame because it has sagged. I can see it much more easily. Perhaps if I turn it, there we go. Can you see how it's sagged? That indicates that was all still warm, well, hot, when it came out of the frame, and so it's, you know, sagged. And obviously that doesn't matter as long as all of this is okay. But again, it makes me wonder if this was given to the current Indian producer, and I say I don't know where this was made. In fact, let's have a little look at the box. It should tell us, shouldn't it? Let's see if we can find. Oh, of course, it's in tiny, tiny font. Well, it's just, oh, made in India. So maybe it could be then. Maybe it is the same company doing the impressions. So, okay. I mean, so far, I don't see any faults with this at all. This is lovely and smooth. This entire side here. I mean, in some respects, it's quite a boring model, right? Because there's not an awful lot on modern ships. You know, they are designed to be lower observability than the past. You have lots of, you know, these large flat panels, you know, containing either electronics or jamming suites or, you know, whatever. These sort of angled, you know, the angled sides and stuff to make them lower observability, so radar doesn't bounce off them quite the same way. This is quite nice. You've got all the interior. This is obviously the what do you call it? The helicopter hangar deck, I think. You know, sort of semi-covered at the rear. That's quite nice. Oh, that's interesting, Mario. Still on sale in Malta. So it's still on sale, obviously, in the US store. At least I think it is. It was on sale, I presume. It's very easy to check, right? Very easy to check. Let's just Airfix US. Sale. Blenheim. Page 1 of 22. Wow, they're having a clear out. Let's go price. Yep, it's still on sale. So still available in the US. So I think it is in markets that it didn't sell well, but they still have these. Because again, that's 5 years ago, right? Do I have any of my mods on tonight? Oh, Adrian, can you just get rid of that irreparable cockchet, whatever, obviously spam one. So yeah, I think it is in, you know, markets where it didn't sell that well, but they still have stock, and obviously it's too expensive for them to move around, so hence they still have them. But that does mean, you know, if you're in those markets, you can pick one of these up at a pretty good price. I mean, you saw in the US, you know, this was $99, and it's on sale for, what was it, 30, I think. I mean, obviously, I have them on sale in the UK. I've got 2 left. They're a lot more than that in pounds because obviously we had to ship them across here, and shipping them across was just as much as buying them. And obviously, I have to actually make some money in the shop. But if you are in Malta and you can buy them for a reasonable price, then I would go for it because, you know, look, this looks pretty good. I mean, this is a very nice casting or molding. I was told off for saying casting plastic, which I think is a level of pedantry, which is, well, it says a lot more about the person, I think, than anything. I think it is perfectly valid to say cast, but anyway, I know it is mainly used with metal, but we all know what we mean, right? So you do have a little bit of flash on some of these sprues. But for the main part, I think it seems to be restricted to the actual frames themselves and the sprues, not the parts, which is good. I mean, it feels a little bit industrial, but I guess that's because of the size of these toolings, right? They have to have these huge injection rails to make sure that you've got, you know, the plastic flow through to enter these parts. That looks a little bit warped, but it could just be the line of the hull. It's very difficult to tell. You know, you've got a one-piece base here. You know, you've got some very large pieces, which I wouldn't have expected. You do have quite a lot of injection pins, though. You know, injection pin marks. They're actually very shallow. I'm guessing that's because, you know, it's got so much contact surface. You need the force to push it off. So yeah, that's that part. All good so far. This is getting into some of the detail pieces. I say detail, the smaller pieces. Got a piece there that's almost come off. And this is the danger of having, you know, this is quite a tall piece on a small sprue along with big frames in something that has quite a bit of room to move around. I mean, you do have some very fine pieces here. I mean, that is, those pieces are very fine. It's going to be interesting to remove those successfully from this rather industrial frame. A couple of little launches here. I mean, those are one piece. Those are pretty nice. But one piece launch. You know, you've got good casting, good molding on both sides. You know, overall, this isn't bad. It's pretty good. I'm pleasantly surprised. I don't know what I expected, but I mean, wow. That stands almost no chance of staying on, does it, really? And then the final one is, you know, this, which has just tons of stuff on it. If it'll focus, let's get it. Come on, focus. There we go. So there's our Lynx, the little Lynx there, the Lynx helicopter. Here's our Merlin. It's in 2 halves, the Merlin. So it's got its, you know, search radar underneath. We've got all of the rotors for said helicopters. Those are very thin. Look at the screws on the there. Those are big, big things. A little bit of damage here. That's bent. That's one of the supports for the main prop drive shaft. Again, because you've got all these parts with a fair bit of movement possible, it opens you up to that There's the other side of the links there. I thought it was one piece, but it's not. It's actually got this little piece for the other side. So given the scale, you've not got bad detail here. You've also got the option here, look, for folded rotors on both of the helicopters. That's quite neat. So yeah, this is not a bad kit from the looks of it. Obviously the proof is in the making, but for a naval subject in this scale, I don't think that's bad at all. So a couple more people popped in the stream. Ronald McDonald and Paul Christopher. Good to see you both. Just going through the Type 45 destroyer from Airfix at the moment. Come on, focus. Thank you. So decal sheet is really nice here. You've got the helicopter landing pad warning pieces. You've got various stenciling here for the rear deck as well. On that, some nice ensigns there. You've got this lovely Welsh dragon. I don't know which one that is. A quick peek at the instructions just to see. Thank you, sweetie. Oh, look at that 1-to-1 scale pizza. I think I was bought pizza on the stream bit last, wasn't it? That looks very hot. Okay, it is. Oh, okay. I'm utterly dumb. Yes, David Markey. Dragon for HMS Dragon, of course. What else would it be? Oh dear. I told you I wasn't a naval modeler, didn't I? We'll have a look at the placement of that on the actual scheme. I mean, it's actually written down here as well, right in front of me. So user error, good God. So, I mean, there aren't a lot of, decals on a ship, but I mean, you've got all of the badges here for them as well. This is really nice. I mean, we're used to nice decals, right, from Airfix now, the cartograph decals, and these are no exception. I mean, these on some foil are going to produce a really nice little flag. I would think most people would be drawn to HMS Dragon because of the dragon, but if you've got a particular, if you've served on or know somebody who's served on one of these, or it's stationed in your port or whatever, then I can understand doing the others too. I mean, I think I will do HMS Dragon because that looks absolutely gorgeous, that dragon decal. Unless I screw it up, in which case I'll do the other ones. So that's really nice. Okay, so instructions, come on, thank you. I'm sorry, Craig. I told you I'm not a naval modeler. Neil, how much are you selling a T45? T45? Do you mean, the Type 45? It is, I believe, £60. Let me check. Type 45. £60, yeah. Yeah, because obviously bought the kits and then the postage from the US, and then obviously there was a customs part on top of that, which is obviously why Airfix don't move them around, because it would end up making no money on them by the time it did that. So for them, better to sell it in the US, at a massive discount. So instructions, I mean, these are pretty standard, right? So one thing I like here is it is showing you like where to drill the holes in this, and then it points out what step each of those relates to. I really like that. I wish more manufacturers would do that, because like do that right. Okay, it's step 74. So then you can whiz along to step 74 and like, oh, okay, it's for this piece here. Okay, that's essential. So I'm going to do that, because it might be that you do one and you think, well, actually, I'm not going to use that piece in that way. I've got a replacement for it, whatever it is. So yeah, it's the backhander to John Alec. That's what it is. It's that import tariff. John Alec's charging me export tariffs now. He's not, of course. He's to be as solid in getting me those kits. So this all looks good. You've obviously got options here. This is, I'm guessing, for the helicopter bay. Yeah, it's the door for the helicopter bay. That's quite a neat little touch. But other than that, construction looks pretty straightforward. I quite like the way they've done this actually on reflection, because although this isn't the actual superstructure, it's a support for the part. So actually, I take back what I said before. I think this is, having this piece here rather than building up pieces is actually a very clever way to go. So who would have thought that Airfix are better at designing kits than me, eh? I mean, this is all pretty straightforward, but it gives you plenty of options along the way. You've got quite a lot of these little question mark bits of how you want to do it. So obviously you can do it as a waterline model, but it doesn't provide you with anything to put on the bottom there, which, I guess is fair enough. If you're going to do a waterline model, you're probably going to put it in, some sort of scenic base. So, and then you've got full hull with the display stand. Big radar arrays. And then you get into all the fiddly little bits, which I'm sure some of you will be like, oh, all of that could be replaced. Craig. I will replace all of this with photo etch, because I'm a masochist. So this looks like, well, these probably Harpoon launchers, I'm guessing, or whatever we use. I don't think Sea Scepter fires from these. I think that's all VLS, isn't it? I don't know. My exposure. Oh, you got the CWIS stations there. I don't know a huge amount about Type 45. Most of it comes from watching the Grim Reapers play with them on Sea Power. Oh, you've got a little. Oh, that's neat how the stairs fold up into the hull. Cool. One thing I didn't realize about the Super Hornet is that it has a built-in ladder. So it actually drops down from the underside of its leading edge strakes. Okay, it is. They are AGM 84s. Okay. The venerable Harpoon, probably obviously updated, but it's interesting actually watching the Grim Reapers and Sea Power. It's interesting how the Soviets, the Soviets, and now Russia and China both use supersonic anti-ship missiles, whereas the US uses subsonic. They don't use supersonic anti-ship missiles. I'm not so sure about C-Scepter. Not C-Scepter. Oh God, what is it? It is C-Scepter, isn't it? The anti-ship missile. We're now obviously going with. Oh God, Craig, help me! The small air portable anti-ship missile that's designed for the F-35. An F-35, I think, can carry 6 of them or 8 of them. Basically, the idea is they're intelligent, small missiles that target important infrastructure on ships. So things like the deck, the CWIS, and all of the radar. And the point is, they're probably not going to be successful, but they're cheap. They can be deployed by stealth, so the ships don't have much time to react, and they drain the ship's anti-missile weapons. So all the anti-missile missiles get drained by that, and then we come in with our big, stealthy anti-ship missiles, which are actually designed to hit it. And of course, if any of those small anti-ship missiles get through and knock out a radar or knock out weapons targeting or hit the bridge or something, that also then cripples the ship's ability to respond to those. So it's a bigger yeah, it is C-Scepter. Seawolf on the touch. Yeah, okay, thanks, Craig. But it's a really interesting strategy. They're not in service yet, but that is the plan. Small, cheap missile, relatively cheap by missile standards. Intelligent, small warhead, not enough to take down a ship, but paves the way by depleting the ship's defenses. Whereas China, Russia use these big supersonic missiles as kind of a first strike capability, which if you watch the Grim Reapers, and I would recommend you do, they're great. It's a great channel, great bunch of people. And as I said, have been heavily throttled by YouTube. They do some really interesting scenarios. Modern frigates have and destroyers have far more defensive weapons than they do offensive weapons. So it's really difficult to get through. Really difficult. So you've got to be much more tactical in sea battles than just lobbing all your missiles out, because you're probably just going to end up with no missiles. Nice options with the helicopters here. I really like that. That's quite cool. So you could actually pose, the Merlin in storage, whilst the Lynx is actually taking off or, hovering beside the ship or something, if you're going to want to do a diorama. It's nice that you can fold the tail there as well. That's pretty neat. And of course, if you want to get aftermarket 1/350th scale stuff, you could always do that. So there you have the 2 options: waterline, and then the full hull, and obviously all the different options like these stairs coming down and everything. And a substantial kit. I mean, it is not a small model. That is, what, 40 centimeters, I imagine? 40? Might be 45. You never know. That would be a coincidence, wouldn't it? And then we get, again, onto the scheme. No surprises, it's grey. Obviously, if you've got a waterline model, you're only going to be using grey and black, basically. Although, obviously, the deck is a different grey. You've got sea grey and medium sea grey, or US Ghost grey. And a bit of black, obviously. If you're doing the under one, obviously, you have the red or the below waterline anti-corrosion treatment, and the waterline black. So painting in this, it's really about the weathering on these things, I think, and keeping it realistic to 1/350 scale is a bit more challenging. But that looks pretty good. So I'm guessing these are the VLS cells at the front, right? This thing here. I'm not sure. Does this have mushroom farms on it? It's like I'm not familiar really with the Type 45 in this instance, but that looks quite a nice kit. I'm actually quite motivated to build that now. So yeah, there we go. Craig, should be a good P set out. And Adrian, no P allowed. The two opposite sides of the argument there. Right. Let's quickly go back to the other camera, my virtual background, so you don't see my big green screen because it looks a bit weird. So let me have a little look, because it was a bit neck and neck for third place. So if you've any preferences, get them in now. Whilst I just have a look here. So we've got, okay, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, Brugeot, 251. And on the private members Discord, we had number 3 was by far the top. We had 1 coming out. We also had 4 and 2. So the 251 has 3 votes there, which I think just ekes it ahead. Yeah. Okay, now we've got some which have 1. So the 251/1 is going to be the next one after this short pizza break. Cheese feast. Nice. Excuse me while I'm eating. I'm trying to locate where the 251 is. Oh, typically it's below the pizza. Oh, that wasn't too bad. So here we have the 251, 251/1 Ausf B. Trying to get it so that it doesn't cause weirdness on the screen and has the least amount of interference there. Again, ICM have got really nice box art here. One being driven in a rather desolate looking, quite cold tundra kind of setting. So it's been driven because you've got exhaust coming out. Again, I haven't opened this, so bear with me. I break the seals. Always such a tight fit, please. Which is a good thing, but not when you're trying to do an unboxing. Okay. So there's the again, pretty full box as we're used to. Everything in one bag. Again, I like the way that ICM have designed their frames to fit the boxes. So there isn't that movement. Like in the Type 45, we had that lateral movement because there's like 10 centimeters or more for it to go. Whereas this, it can't really move. And there's not really much movement in the bag because it is pretty tightly packed. So that's what you want, right? You don't want movement. Revell boxes are probably the worst offenders for having way oversized boxes, which just leads to potential damage. So, instructions. So, nice full color booklet as usual. And obviously, in the back, we've got full color stuff, which we will get to shortly. The ubiquitous paint guide in the box, of course. If I could sell those, I'd make a fortune. Got so many. That was too big a bite, really. So, let me switch you across. But you're going to have to watch me eat. Oh, I stopped the cam too early. There we go. As if by magic. I need to get rid of that virtual screen. Because this was slightly green there. Again, not much to say about the layout here, as normal. So the first thing to note is this is an update to my kit. So we're not using the main hull at all here. We actually have this separate. So I was trying to take the flip this up to find the other page, but it's this one. So we actually have frame H here, which is the replacement for this one. We'll get into that shortly. Standard ICM instructions, isometric instructions. And of course, as with most ICM kits, you do get the engine. I find it quite interesting actually, because you often learn stuff through this. Like the way that this, I had no idea how the engine was arranged in a 251 with a radiator here at the front with these two fans and everything, which is interesting. But the only thing I find with these is it always means that I would like to be able to pose the thing open, you know, to be able to show that it's there, because otherwise it just feels like a waste. Got the MG34 there. Got some internal stowage. All of the rather uncomfortable looking seats there. I mean, these things were not built for comfort, right? I mean, as evidenced by the bench seats in the back. I mean, the 251 was so ubiquitously associated with the Third Reich, right? And but it's nice that you get in this kit, because quite often ICM give you the engine, but don't actually give you a way to display it. Whereas here you do have the paired sides rather than one single piece that, you know, isn't designed to be opened. Whereas here you have these, so you could, you know, open these up to be able to display that engine, which is great. You've got all the rifles, you've got your Mausers here, all the stowage, you know, stowage for your helmets and things. With those buckets, I can't, you know, radio gear, the whole shebang, really. So, I mean, if you're doing a diorama with some infantry and you want a 251 in it. I mean, this is great because it gives you a lot of the internal stuff to be able to tell your story here. Lots and lots of little bits. And then obviously we have paint schemes. We have standard Schwarzgrau, 1941. A slightly camouflaged version. A winter camo version, which obviously is displayed on the box, and then an Africa core version. So you've got basically, you know, decals there to be able to depict quite a few different periods there. Latest of which is the Africa core 142. So that's pretty nice. You've got that. Obviously, you could adjust this, you know, if you wanted to do slightly different camo for them. But I think the important thing is that you've got decals that allow you to put, you know, it in these different theatres, which I think is good. You know, because obviously if you didn't have the Africa core markings, you would need some aftermarket to be able to do that. Whereas this way, it gives you that scope, which I think is great. I think what I might do, if people would like it, and obviously these are successful, is I might do this as a regular thing, like once a month, like the first MMM or the last MMM of a month, do the unboxing, or maybe twice a month, you know, every other week or something. I think that could be a good thing. So obviously you've got vinyl tires and unfortunately vinyl tracks, which I'm not a fan of. I really wish ICM would just standardize on doing link and length tracks, because I think that would really elevate them. But so here you have the two. So this is the modern version. I mean, the differences are minimal. In fact, I'm struggling to spot them myself, though I am sure somebody more knowledgeable than me would be able to. What I really like here is, look at that mesh at the front. That is injection molded. Let's just bring it up and see if we can focus. Come on, focus on this. Come on. Come on, focus. There we go. There we go. Look at that. And it's injection molded, which is pretty impressive. Right? That is pretty impressive to see injection molding of that quality to be able to produce that mesh. So it's pretty nice. I don't know what the differences are between these two. Oh, okay. So you have no vision slits here. You have provision for vision slits there, and that is about it, I think. I mean, another manufacturer, in my opinion, would probably have just given you some blanking pieces, right, to insert from the back here, and then you'd have to probably deal with that seam. Whereas ICM have just given you an entirely new piece, which really speaks volumes to how they approach the hobby, right? Think about how Airfix dealt with the Jaguar's nose, which I think was a massive mistake. Yes, it's possible for a modeler to cut off the nose of an aircraft. But the question is not that if we were capable, the question is that should a manufacturer expect a modeler to do that in a brand new 60-pound tooling? And obviously ICM, seem to be of the opinion that no, actually, it's our job as a manufacturer to provide you with a bespoke piece. I've eaten one. It has been replaced. Thank you. Which I think is highly commendable. Sorry, I've now got pizza grease on my on my half track. So yeah, I think they are very generous in the way they approach their modeling, which is as a supplier, which I think is fantastic. So this looks extremely comprehensive. I mean, if you want a basic T51, you can buy the Tamiya one. It's what, like 15, 20 quid. But it's old. It doesn't have this level of detail. Or you can go for this, which has pretty much everything, including the engine, which is for a diorama. Or, the other thing is you could have one of these and a Tamiya one, and you could have one of these parked and somebody working on the engine, and the other one, just has a bunch of troops milling around. So things like this, not every diorama that you have, not every vehicle in it has to be super detailed. It's quite a chunky engine, isn't it? So I think this is great to be able to give this level of basic detail, Now, is this as good as an aftermarket piece? Well, it's not far off. And yes, you could probably improve this, but that's very much up to you. They are providing all of this in the kit, and then it's your choice if you want to, change pieces, upgrade it, whatever. But it's not like, an old Hasegawa kit that just doesn't provide it, and you're forced to either use aftermarket, scratch build, or ignore it, and cover it somehow. Same with Hasegawa kits. That's the Hasegawa philosophy. They never used to provide a lot of stores with their aircraft, but they would sell you a kit, supplemental kit with stores in it. So, again, you could display it without those stores. So there's obviously two identical frames, just by the way. Or you could buy the additional from whoever and put those in. So yeah, Adrian, I think that's right. So it also gives people a chance to vote on what they would like to see. I could put out a list of all the kits I have, I'm thinking of, and people can vote in very much the way that they did for this, and get a nice balance output. Some really tiny pieces here, very fine elements. Again, this is typically as you would expect from ICM. So all of this looks pretty standard for them. Pretty good. Just take a quick look at the decals. I think I can zoom into that a little bit more. There we go. Nice thing as well about having lots of these options is, these kinds of things, if you don't have them for other kits, or you've got using an older kit which perhaps doesn't, the decals have disintegrated or something, you can nick these, because you only got one half track here, you got 4 decals for number plates and stuff. So that's great. So they have included the forbidden symbol, but split it. That's I've seen ICM do that with a lot of their decals in this manner. And you think, if the Ukraine can do this, and the Ukraine suffered pretty horribly under Nazism, it was tramped across by Germany, then people need to get a bit of a grip about the symbol. It is not really the symbol, it is what it represents and the ideologies and the people. It's people that did all of this. The symbol is just a symbol. But that looks pretty nice. And Pablo obviously has seen something that displeases him somewhere. Let me swap over. So there we go. I'll show you the quick, probably, I might be able to do a quick unboxing on one of them, the surprise kits. Well, I mentioned I had some Hasegawa kits come in this week, and this is one of them. Oh. What am I doing? So if any of you have ever played Ace Combat, so it was a game, I think originally on the PlayStation in the 90s, with kind of near future stuff, Japanese obviously. This comes from that series of video games. I just love aircraft that have forward swept wings. I think they look really cool. I love the MiG, not the MiG, it's the Sukhoi, wasn't it? The demonstrator with forward swept wings. The S-37, the Bukuk. That's a cool aircraft. The Golden Eagle. You know, also the X, whatever it was, the Northrop one, the NASA demonstrator. Number of advantages, having forward swept wings in terms of stalling, and it's to do with aerodynamics and stuff, but a number of disadvantages as well, but they do look cool. So I think these look pretty good. The 72nd scale, so a proper scale, if you like. Now this is what I mean though by Hasegawa are a very traditional company. Look at the size of the box compared to the size of the kit. There is a hell of a lot of room for that to move around in there. The good part is, being Japanese, everything is, of course, individually bagged there. This is all bagged as one. But then, you know, those aren't bagged. Well, that's surprising. Most Hasegawa decal sheets I've seen in the past have been bagged, but those aren't. It's a very extensive decal sheet. You can't really see there, but... And unlike a lot of Hasegawa... Oh, no. I was going to give them a compliment there. I thought it was a booklet. It's not. It's a big fold-out, horrible... Oh, my God, that's awful. However, it's got some nice colours on the back. Now, of course, you can paint it whatever you want because this is made up. It's imaginary. It's a what-if. But it looks pretty cool. Pretty cool. Kit itself looks pretty nice. That's and then the other one is this one. So this is the YF-19 demonstrator, and this is from Macross. So again, Japanese kind of futuristic space stroke aircraft. But I just think these are a little bit different. They, you know, they let you use your imagination. You don't have to stick to any particular schemes. You know, you can just run wild with whatever you like. So I think they're quite good kind of mojo builds in some way. If you still want to actually, you know, build something rather than an egg plane. The shame of stocking egg planes. I don't know. I mean, it is kind of two big parts and then a whole bunch of little stuff. But maybe I'll do a proper unboxing of that another time. Or maybe the YF-19, we'll see. But interesting kits. We'll get them onto the website at some point. always the hardest bit of getting stock in. So I have a lot of stock in the shop now, which isn't on the website. So it's just a gradual process of getting it all on. But anyway, we are coming up to the witching hour. So Graham, you have my absolute support. I'm not a fan of eggplanes. But having said that, a model shop is not about what I want, right? It is about what the customer wants. Eggplane's quite popular. Also, they're £9. So they aren't a lot of money. And if some kids come into the shop with their parents, with their dad who is buying model, and they see an eggplane, and that could be the first thing that gets them into modeling, who am I to judge? So it's one of the reasons that I'm going to put them in the shop, because I think there is a market for them, and it's not for me to keep the hobby. Hence the, I got some, I showed on the Hasegawa post in the on the channel and the community post, some of those Hasegawa kits, I've got these weird ghost things. I have no idea what they are, because I've got some weird Japanese thing, but it might just be what somebody is looking for. So the shop really, for me, it's a passion. Obviously, modeling is a passion of mine, but I don't mind how people express that passion. I don't expect them to do the same kits or be excited about the same kits that I am. I have discussions with people who do like those things, but it's I also have discussions with, got a very regular customer comes in who's primarily a railway modeler, so Ray, hi, if you're watching. So Ray comes in the shop 2, 3, 4 times a week. We chat about all kinds of stuff. He's not into 1/35th scale armor or YF-19 demonstrators stuff, but we share a love of the history, the hobby, the craft, all of those things. So I think far too many people get obsessed by well, that's not what I like. It's like, well, so we don't all have to like the same things. Like with pizza, I don't insist that you like the same sorts of pizza that I do. It doesn't stop us both liking pizza or even talking about pizza if you hate it. So live and let live. Anyway, thank you all for joining me tonight. Apologies for last night. The internet actually didn't come on until 6:30 this morning. So it was 12 hours that it was down for, which is pretty bad. But it is what it is. And thank you all for joining tonight, sticking with it, sticking with me. And I hopefully will see you on the next one. Quick question. I'll answer a quick question before I leave. James Carnahan said, how do you go about choosing the models from your suppliers? Do they furnish you with a catalogue? So most suppliers, except for Airfix, Hornby, have an online portal. And they also have sales reps. So Amarang, who do Hasegawa, for instance, have a sales rep. He comes and sees me. We chat about stuff. He tells me about the things that are coming up. Tiger Hobbies, Gary from Tiger Hobbies sends regular emails about the stuff that they're getting in before they get it in, which is great. Or offers that they've got, if they're getting rid of a range because they need to clear room because they've got another set of stuff. So it's about communication, really. So obviously I know some of the new stuff that's coming in. So I ordered a bunch of stuff from Gary at Tiger for the mini art stuff when it was coming. And I knew that was obviously coming in from the catalogs and stuff, the announcements. And I knew kind of what I wanted to get from that in advance. But otherwise, it'll be, Gary often has 1s and 2s of things that he just wants to clear out because the last bits. And so they'll have like an extra discount on them or something. And I think, well, I'll get, I'll pop those in because who knows, right? Much to what I was saying about a second ago. you can never really tell. So it's a bit random. It's not a great answer, James. It's not. There is no systematic way. Obviously, new releases I try to get in that people are interested in, and I try to do advanced notices, like with the egg planes. They haven't come in yet. That's why they're all up as pre-orders at the moment, because I don't actually have any physical stock. I've ordered some physical stock, but it won't come in until the boat comes in, literally. So if I can get pre-orders before that, I'll be able to add to that order so that I know I've got some stock for the shop, as well as people, I can supply people that have that want them, definitely want them, but it's always a bit of a, test which way the wind is going and, take a punt. I won't tell you what value I have invested in the shop, because it will scare me to announce the figure out loud, but it's a lot. Because if you provide a wide range, there might be that one kit that somebody wants, or 5 kits or whatever. So yeah, it's kind of gut feel, a little bit of business, a little bit of hobby input, but yeah, it's mostly through the online portals, because they also tell you what stock is coming in. Hornby have a slightly different, slightly more archaic way of doing things, but it's similar. It's similar. So anyway, with that, I thank you all for your time this evening. Please do click the like on this stream, on any of the videos that you watch. Please do drop a comment if you can. All of those things help to counter that throttling back that YouTube are doing for military related stuff. And otherwise, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers, guys.